I'm Rachel.
And I'm Mike.
We're here today to talk to you about your first steps to taking your first Microsoft certification exam. What we'll cover is how to find information about your exam. We'll look at how to schedule your exam, things you should do the day of the exam, and then to wrap it up, what you should do after the exam. The first thing that you're going to want to do is visit the www.microsoft.com learning website. Here you'll find lots of helpful information about individual exams as well as certification tracks.
Once you decide on an exam, you want to find the information for that specific exam on the website. You're going to see a lot of resources. You'll find books and practice exams and potentially webcasts, courseware related to your exam. You'll also find an objective document that lists all of the skills that you need to master before you take the exam.
Yeah. When you find that objective exam, print it out and highlight the areas that you think you're going to need further study on. Any things that you already know, just cross it out. Start doing searches on the items that you've highlighted. What I like to do is use OneNote to consolidate all of my information that I need to further study.
You may want to consider taking a practice exam. Microsoft has 2 authorized practice test providers, Self-Test Software and MeasureUp. Both of them provide great products that will give you a good feel of the types of questions that will be asked on your exam, the scope and the depth of the questions, and they also provide really good information about why that question is correct and other related information.
Good. So what you want to do on the day of the exam, most importantly you want to relax and you want to take your time. You want to arrive at least about 15 to 30 minutes early, would you say, Mike?
Absolutely.
Now, you've got some paperwork to fill out, so you want to be sure to be there on time. Bring the proper identification. You need 2 forms of ID, and 1 must be a photo ID. Don't take a lot of extra stuff to the exam center. They won't let you take it into the classroom. And some exams are going to be pretty long. And you want to be sure that you've had a good breakfast that morning and that you've blocked off enough time in your schedule that day to take the exam.
So just one note about where you need to go to register for your exams, and we'll talk about what to do during it. Certiport.com is where you would register for any Office-related exams, the Microsoft Office User Specialist, and Prometric.com is where you would register for any of the MCTS, MCPD, and MCITP exams.
Good, we've got those on the board. Yeah.
So what do we do during the exam? You're going to get something to write on. I encourage you to use that during the exam. Draw pictures, flow diagrams, a list of steps for the process you're doing. I often write the letters for the answer choices for each question and cross them off as I am thinking through each of the answer choices so that I can make sense and make sure that I've eliminated all the choices.
That's a good idea. If you feel like you can't answer a particular question, don't stumble over it. Leave it, mark it, and then when you finish taking the exam, you can go back and spend some time on any of those difficult questions that you couldn't get immediately.
I absolutely do that. I do a real quick first pass, try to get as many questions as I can get done that I know, and then I go back.
Good. Yeah, before you hit the done button, be sure you go back and review anything, make sure that you haven't left anything unanswered.
That is correct. And one last piece of advice during the exam, read every question very carefully. A difference in 1 or 2 words can make the difference to the correct choice. Read all of the answers one by one. There are going to be some that may be similar. You need to discover what the similarities and differences are. This is especially true for code-based exams because you may get 4 answers each with a dozen lines of code, and they may have 1 minor change in the code. You need to be able to point it out before you can make your decision. Don't just jump to the first one that looks like it might be correct.
Good advice. Good advice. So what do we do after the exam? Well, when you get out of the exam, you'll know right away whether you've passed or failed, right?
You are looking for the green.
You're looking for the green, right. If you don't pass the exam, know that you are not alone, okay? Many people don't pass the exam the first time.
Both of us.
Yeah, it's okay. Give yourself a pat on the back back for trying, and just begin preparing to take it a second time.
Exactly.
Right? You will be handed an exam report that will break down the scores by objective. Use that information to identify your weak spots so you know what you need to go back and study for.
And that exam report is also your official, essentially, receipt of having taken that exam. Generally, the scores get updated on the Microsoft site within a day or two. So that becomes part of your official Microsoft transcript when you pass an exam.
Yeah, and it's a good idea not ever to throw that piece of paper away. Build yourself a file and hold on to it. One day you might need it to validate that you have taken the exam.
All right, so in closing, we talked about how do we choose an exam? How do we find out information? Where do I start so I know what to study up for an exam? What else? What to do the day of, during the exam itself, after we complete the exam. So in closing, what we want to say is Microsoft certification has absolutely advanced our careers, and it can do the same for you. These exams are not trivial. They can be very difficult and very tedious, and your head will hurt when you leave, but they are very good representations of the skills that you need to succeed in the job market.
And we wish you luck.
Thank you very much.